Morning. Okay, everyone. Well, I think we should kick this off. I just want to wish everybody, hey, it's a happy Wednesday, right? Good morning, everybody. My name is Christian Grayson. I'm a senior account executive at KIS. I want to thank you all for making time to join us this morning for this, what we call a KIS learning event. And I trust you'll find a time well spent. For those people not familiar with KIS, please know that we are a one-stop IT shop. We've helped people, our clients, keep IT simple for about 32 years out of the same zip code in Fremont. We deliver products, services, professional services around cloud, virtualization, security, storage, network, mobility, pretty much you name it, we do it. And besides all the logic plumbing, we also do things like cabling for surveillance and security products as well, and network, of course. So from time to time, we invite some of our technology partners in to do a presentation to share with you. And that's an opportunity for our partners to showcase their latest product developments. And it's also an opportunity for you to save a lot of time as far as research is concerned, because often when you look at web pages, they all sound very, very similar. And the FAQs don't always deliver what you want to know. So here's an opportunity to ask the people who actually do know. So hopefully this should save you some time. Now, our partner today is IBM, the one and only International Business Machines. Really does not need an introduction, but for those who don't know, it is a technology giant. They employ probably something like 250,000 people around the world. They all focused on bettering humanity through technology, and they have led so many breakthroughs that the list just would go on and on and on, and we could probably be here all day just doing just that. So rather than me rambling on, I'm going to introduce you to a team from IBM. It's Chris Vollmer and John Ford. And initially, I believe Chris is going to take it away and give us the first bit of the presentation. So Chris, it's actually, you know what? Before we do that, before I give it to you, let's talk a little bit about what we're doing as far as the trivia. We have some trivia questions, and I can do something about that right here. I can show you what the trivia is going to be, the format of it. You will be able to provide answers in the chat box. And for those who participate the most and get the most answers, there is a prize at the end, which is really, it's a cyber review by IBM. And the value really goes anywhere from several thousand to tens of thousands, depending on the complexity of your environment. So I just kind of want to put that out there. I'm going to share my screen just so that you can see what the format is. So let me just do that. Bear with me while I do that. Okay, here we are. So this is the format. We will. I'm not exactly sure why the poll is up there, but let me get rid of that.
This is how they going to answer it. So please go ahead with the start the poll.
Yep. So I'm gonna start it up here just to show you how this all works. So here we go. What was the name given to the IBM computer which famously beat 2 human players in the Jeopardy challenge? So you get 10 seconds to do this, and here we go.
Go ahead and punch in your answer into the pool.
Yep. So please select what you think it is in the chat box.
Or in the poll that just popped up.
All right. That was a little extra time there. We have 2 responses that I can see.
Yeah, punch in your. Oh, I have 4 out of 10 question. 4 out of 10 people answer. Please punch in your answers into the poll.
I think most of them are correct here. And Christopher, you don't have to worry. You got the right question. So even if your poll disappeared, that's all okay. All right, Jane, do you want to tabulate those, or how do you want to handle that?
Yeah, just click what's the answer?
Yep. Yeah. So the right answer is, as we click on this button here. Okay, let me go back and click on that button. I have a. Okay, so Watson is the correct answer. I noticed the answer at one point there was for Deep Blue, which of course was the computer that beat Kasparov in chess, and that was, I mean, IBM do a lot of other things than just win games. So anyway, that went well. So let's try that again. Here we go with the second one, just to get used to this. What features make flash storage superior to spinning media? Are we ready? Here we go. I wanted to get some music going. Here we go. All right. And if you want to put that in the chat as well. Yeah, I think that was kind of a gimme, really, wasn't it? Anyway, yep. The correct answer, of course, there is D, all of the above. And I'm sure there are many other good advantages over spinning media that we're all familiar with. In any case, at this point in time here, I'm going to invite Chris Vollmer to share his screen, and we'll get this presentation on the way.
Well, and let me see if I can steal that from you. All right, looks like they're going to let me steal it from you. That's awesome. So, can everybody see my screen okay?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Perfect. As you heard, my name's Chris Vollmer, and I'm looking over here because they moved the video on me. Every time I relaunch Zoom, it removes the video. So, as I said, my name's Chris Vollmer. I'm part of the IBM storage team. I have a worldwide role. I have architect responsibility around data resiliency. You might also call that cyber resiliency. And kind of the topic for conversation, topic of our discussion today for the next 20 minutes or so is very much around cyber resiliency, how we're able to support and the trends of what we're seeing. So I'm going to start with the trends of what we're seeing and some of the things that kind of catch our attention and my attention as I'm working in this space. The first, I'll make the distinction a little bit around cyber resiliency and data resiliency different from cyber security. But why is cyber resiliency important? As we've all been watching and probably reading more news than we needed to, as we've been in different stages of lockdowns and in my case, lots of lockdowns. Cyber resiliency, ransomware, malware has been a high topic and has had a lot of publication around it because there's been a proliferation of attacks, and you'll see some of them mentioned here on the screen here. Much more, I think, if you do a search and you've been watching the news, you're absolutely going to see there's been a few, both in the United States, in Canada, and kind of at the global level. Kind of things that we've been looking at and things that we understand around customer survey and data points coming back. The average recovery time from a ransomware attack can be as much as 23 days. That's to bring everything back to full service. I've seen it, externally, haven't watched the news during events, watch it. There have been some very prolific and I guess very well publicized ones in the last little while in a couple of different spaces. There's been a couple ones that I was watching in Canada. There's been a couple of ones in the States that I was watching as well. And they have been extended times to recover. The average cost of ransomware, depending on which currency you're working in, about $5.2 million US. Depending, I was working with the European team earlier this morning. Their numbers work in euros, obviously, but it all comes in the same when you apply kind of the currency conversion. What we've been seeing from various surveys has a significant number of clients have been forced to pay. And partially that is because it hasn't been the ability to recover from the ransomware attack. They don't necessarily have I'll call it the plumbing in place, or haven't been able to develop the plumbing to be able to come back from a cyber attack. So there's been the forced of payouts. Now there's cyber insurance, there's a bunch of other things that have been options. From one of the other surveys and data sets we've picked up, there is an impact to paying. Now, even if you don't publicize, but quite often gets publicized if you've had to pay. But there's also, things that you need to consider, and they are very CFO centric around developing hiring borrowing costs. If you are leveraging cyber insurance, increased premiums, or just regular insurance, increased premiums, the brand damage, customer notification, and any lawsuits that come with it. So there is a bunch of challenges around, even if I have to pay. But the main part that we're running into is, and seeing, is there is certainly continues to be a proliferation of attacks. On that same track, you'll notice that there's a couple other pieces here that I've pulled in from various reports from third-party sources, from 2021 specific. One was, if I did pay, how much do I get back? One survey, one piece of independent data came back that said, at the high side, 65% were able to recover their data, but there are some that that there's a significant number that was, that were not able to recover enough data. For example, the 8% were able to recover all. That leaves a big number that wasn't able to recover all the data that was attacked. And then, the 29% didn't recover half. Depending which half I get, that's good, or that might be a real challenge. The other thing that I found interesting, and some of the folks that some of the teams I've been working with, we've looked at as well, as around cyber insurance. There have been some really interesting court cases. One in federal court, New Jersey, from 4 or 5 months ago now, that changed some of the rules around cyber insurance, and a lot of policies got amended after that ruling. But overall, like the big, if I take it at the 10,000 foot level, you'll sort of see here the premiums on cyber insurance have gone up 96% over the last almost all of 2021, over the year of 2021. So there has also continued to be a drumbeat of higher and higher cost. There's a bunch of factors that, when you scratch underneath the surface of why, but the numbers are still kind of where the numbers are. And some of this is because, insurance is still a profit-driven business, so they need to be able to turn a profit. And with the proliferation and numbers of attacks, there have been obviously a significant number of people that have been trying to exercise their insurance coverage. From an IBM perspective, we actually have a threat intelligence team. If you haven't heard of X-Force before, working with the X-Force team, going and having a look at the content they produce. Every year they produce a threat intelligence index. It is a really nicely curated report with a lot of good information. If you haven't gone to see this year's, absolutely worth going to see. We can absolutely get you the link for it. You search X-Force, with your search engine of choice. You'll see this, and you'll see the 2022 index. A couple interesting data points. North America, of the 3 regions, was the 3rd most attacked region. I think that changes, to be honest. And I think that was probably a lower point last year. I think we'll see North America and Europe become higher attack sectors. The next part is of everything X-Force dealt with from remediation and was able to survey, 21% of the attacks were ransomware driven. Now, 21% may not seem like a big number, but when you look at the entire report, they're categorizing all types. So everything from distributed denial of service attack, all the way into phishing, all the way into ransomware is still number 1. So, and a lot of them are very small numbers, very small numbers, very small numbers. When you look at that curve and that actually the way they've broken it in the bar charts. So this is still a significant number. The thing I thought was interesting as well were the top 3 most affected industries in North America. Manufacturing being the most, professional business services next, and then retail and wholesale last. That manufacturing, sometimes you'll see listed as industrial as well. That one has been a very high topic in cybersecurity details. To circle back to the comment that I made, why I think some of those regions will change and the attacks will change. There's also been a change in the last 70-ish days. We have seen a change in the types of attacks that are being seen and categorized. And if you watch, I'll pick on IBM X-Force again. They've been publicizing alerts around things that are, I would characterize as military grade malware. So in the cases of those, and examples might be the hermetic wiperware or the Isaac wiperware, they are state developed in some cases, or that's the suspicion. But the point of them being a malware is it acts like a ransomware, but it erases the data. So you're left with no real way to actually, even if you had the ransomware key, or even if you had the money to pay, you still can't recoup the data because it is a full-on wiping attack. Now it's directed, obviously, at certain places right now that we can all guess from the news, But the concern is what happens next and if you see spillover. So, the thing I would start to keep an eye on is there has been a change in that industry. There has been a change in the way ransomware works. And it is now, we're dealing with both ransomware and now kind of a, I'll use the term military grade malware that actually just seeks to destroy the data and effectively put you out of business. I'd like to make, and I mentioned this before, I'll make the distinction. We make the distinction between cybersecurity and cyber resiliency. Cybersecurity is something we've been doing, everybody's been doing for years. It is the right thing to do. You're developing tools, you're adding practices, you're acquiring tools, and you're putting them in place to block, catch, find, deal with intruders in any different way, shape, or form. These are all things that are we need to continue to do in the IT world, the IT profession. Cyber resiliency is one that we have not seen as a muscle that has been exercised enough. So I'll make the distinction. Cyber resiliency is, how do I recover from some sort of event? If the numbers say that 1 in 3 companies will get hit in a year from ransomware, that those odds are, any casino would love those odds. And any gambler would not like those odds. So I want to be able to recover my environment. How do I recover if something happens? Even if it only hits a portion of my environment, doesn't hit the entire environment, I need a way to recover data in the event something happens, like a ransomware attack. And I obviously probably would not like to pay. Cyber resiliency is just that. It's the ability of an organization to continue to function or at least recover from a disruption in the face of cyber attacks. So I look at the way of, how do I come back up? Now, I would say that is also different than what we've traditionally done in business continuity or disaster recovery. And I was having this conversation with one of our clients the other day, and I'm going to draw it out here. So disaster recovery, absolutely something we have to keep doing in practice. Business continuity, absolutely something we keep doing in practice. And there is kind of an overlap between the two, I would argue. Some of them use the same tools, some of them use the same practice. They have different aims. Disaster recovery, you might think about in case of, I've lost a data center because of a natural disaster. Business continuity, I've lost individual elements of my architecture and I need to keep going so I don't see an interrupt. Unfortunately, neither of those completely covers what I would want to do with cyber resiliency. At the end of the day, if someone corrupts a data set and I'm replicating that data set and I'm backing up that data set, I still have a corrupted or backed up or encrypted data set on the backup. Recovering is a different set of skills, a different set of techniques, and I need a different process to handle it. And even if my RPO and RTO are just defined for DR and business continuity, I tend to encourage our clients to rethink what would that RPO look like in the case that the data is encrypted. How do I deal with that? Now, what I generally will say is you want to think about, how would I recover in those situations? What's the right way to recover in those situations? Can I use some of the tools I already have, and can I use some of the processes I already have and improve upon there? What we've been doing inside of IBM, and what we've been doing with IBM storage, is we've been developing an architecture called CyberVault. And the goal around CyberVault for us is to reduce that recovery time. So in a traditional, what we say, ransomware attack, and you sort of see that 23 days, which we've drawn out here. This is a very logarithmic chart, so you'll notice that it's not kind of to proper scale. You look at the detect, the respond, and the recover elements. They can be somewhat after the time the ransomware attack has been deployed. So it'll take some time for someone to notice. Could be overnight until someone notices their data has been encrypted. Then I got to start working through my response. Okay, what do I isolate? What do I find? How do I deal with it? How bad is that encryption gone? Then I got to deal with my recovery. How do I bring it back? So what we've been working towards inside our CyberVault architecture is to shorten the detection time, improve the response time, and shorten the recovery time through a series of practices and tooling built into the IBM Flash system and built around the IBM Flash system family. The first way, and the kind of the foundation stone, is something we brought into our systems last year called safeguarded copy. That's the ability to create a logically partitioned, immutable, and unmountable copy of the snapshot of the data, so a copy of the data on the Flash system. So I don't need to worry about transiting network. I don't need to worry about pulling something back. I've got an immutable copy on the system. I've actually got several. So if you notice, if I walk through how this works, it'll schedule it. So you might schedule, I'll write a policy that might have it do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times in a day. We see 3 to 5 in a day tends to be the average our clients are using. The boom is absolutely when the corruption happens. But I've got, in this case, say 5 copies. I can start to work my way back with safeguarded copy, mount them up. I would check them personally first to see if there's corruption. before I promote them back into production. But that ability to have the immutable copy that can't be touched by threat actors, whether they be internal or external, and can't be modified from when they were taken, is kind of the cornerstone of I've got a copy of data that might be clean that I can bring back and test before I promote into production. And I keep it on the array, so I'm skipping the network time of having to reload it or pull it from backup, and I've got it in a more regular timing, so I don't have to roll back 24 hours on a backup if the backup is viable. So for example, the 6 o'clock one might not have worked. The 3 o'clock one might not have worked, and I've checked it. When I get to the noon one actually came back and didn't have a corruption in it. That's the one I could then go and recover from and bring my environment back up. But the idea is to have these copies on the system and have a policy governing when they happen, and obviously when they roll off, so you don't proliferate too many. From there, we kind of built Cyber Vault, building out that practice. So similar idea, change the structure of the picture here a little bit, but the idea is protect the data. Use safeguarded copy to protect the data and drive the immutable snapshots. I build the vault from there. From there, I build the vault with some proactive monitoring. So from IBM perspective, the IBM Flash system family can work with something called Storage Insights that often we bring with our system. And you can set up monitoring and alerting there. Things that I would look for that are, I would set up alerts that are changes to my normal pattern of behavior of the environment. I would build the testing process. As part of the vault, you want to build a testing process. So recovering one volume, that's pretty manageable for a person. Recovering 20 volumes that might be my most mission critical, my minimum viable company volumes, that's something I want to have a plan and a process around, just like we would a DR runbook or playbook. But I also sometimes, if I can, I would extend that into automation. How do I automate that? So I'm building a cycle of continuous testing and checking so that if something happens, I already know what my good copies are and I can revert to them versus have to go in and manually go and find them. So for us, Cyber Vault takes things like safeguarded copy, and then I build a process around them. And that process around them with a continual checking, continual automation helps me be ready and be able to revert back into production even faster. But it can be a journey. I've got clients that start on that journey just by building the safeguarded copy, and then they start to add out more of the elements around the blueprint from there because a lot of it's process and automation. And then the other point I'll make is you've got the ability to decide where you want to put it. I've got some clients that are doing it on their primary storage system inside their production environment. I've got another client that is building it in their DR center so that they'll make their copies off of the replicated copy from their production site. I've got options where I want to put it. Each is a viable choice. The local one makes total sense on the production system because I've got the capacity, and that might be where I do my most work. My client who's doing it in the DR facility, well, they actually have some spare servers and some spare server capacity. So their plan is eventually to build that automation, leveraging the additional DR servers they would normally use to build the automation and the testing process. So for them, it's a matter of how do they merge their runbooks. I've got choices. So if I look at Cyber Vault, I'm going to give you two views of it here. This one is very much about that continual process. Start with, say, something like a Flash System 5200, build out your proactive monitoring, have a place to run your testing. And what I mean by that test environment, and you sort of see I've got them in purple here, I would bring tools with me that are maybe application specific. So if you're SQL or your Oracle or your Mongo, if you're DB, I'm picking on databases, but I would use those. They have some native tooling to check validity of data. I would build them into my process. So I would be able to then say, okay, I'm going to mount the volume and a test space. In that test space, I would maybe keep it walled away from the other environment in case there's a corruption inside of it. You don't want it to spread. And then I could use my diagnostic tooling, my cyber security, cyber intelligence tooling, as well as any tooling that comes with the application to then validate that that's a clean copy that I want to work from. And you can bring it back into place. The production, you can restore your point in time copy back into production after you validated it. But until you bring it back into production, it's still immutable. So you've got a chance to work with it, test it, look at, read it. And then when you bring it back to production, you become read-write again. I'd continue that process. So kind of that idea of that cycle you're working through. But very much, I don't want to be prescriptive around what tools you need to bring. So depending on what your workload might be, some of those tools will be inherent to your cybersecurity portfolio, and some of those tools will be inherent to the application. So I want to very much leverage those in the process versus bring in more tools that you may not necessarily already have or need. So the other way of putting it is this way, the kind of the 4-picture square. I can build the immutable copies with safeguarded copy, I can build in some proactive monitoring. I can even integrate with a SIEM tooling if you're using certain SIEM tooling. IBM's got one called QRadar, but we work with others. Test and validate the copies, make sure they're clean, make sure I've got a place to test them, and then build all that so I can enable rapid recovery and bring it back in the event something happens. So I can build my cyber resiliency capability and build in that rapid recovery. So to the point of what was the keystone, how do I start? Safeguarded copy. It's built on the IBM Flash Systems family. And John will talk about this in a couple of moments as well. But I'll call your attention to, there are 3 systems in the IBM Flash System family, and they kind of double in space as you go up. Double in size, double in U, double in horsepower. They continually double. But you'll sort of see it here. Flash System 5200, Flash System 7300, Flash System 9500. The 7300, 9500 were new for us this year, new announced product, brand new systems for us this year, but carrying the code base we've had with Spectrum Virtualized for years. I would, aside from the other normal points here around the size and number of drives, I'd call your attention to the point about cyber resiliency. These are cyber, you can build Cyber Vault safeguarded copy on any of these 3 systems. And as you'll notice, they have MFA, multi-factor authentication, built in as well. So you can use something like IBM Verify, or there's a Microsoft integration point as well. And then when you get up to 9500, there's a couple other security-based features that come in. But you've got the ability now to build your, take your safeguarded copies and build your security around your environment, and build your Cyber Vault from there, leveraging these systems and this platform. Now, where do I start? We talked about this a little bit. Where do I usually start from? How do I define my cyber resilience? I have a number of clients that have had this question, like, where do I start? How do I prioritize? And that's the biggest one of, I have a lot of cybersecurity intelligence and practice, but how do I prioritize and figure out where I want to go first across the entire environment? So not just, maybe primary block disk, but what do I look at across my storage and my data protection landscape? Well, IBM has something called the CRAT, the Cyber Resiliency Assessment. We like to acronym everything, which is how it ended up in 4 letters, the Cyber Resiliency Assessment Tool. It's about 2 hours of time. It's a workshop that we work with, that us and the Keep It Simple team would work with you on, about 2 hours of time. It would usually normally be a couple of folks from the IT line of business. And if someone from security is available, that's great. If they're not, that's okay too. And as we work through the workshop, there's a series of questions. It's a nice big questionnaire we'll manage for you. And when we finish it, you'll see a report very much looks like this. It'll give you some scoring based on the 5 principles in NIST. So we didn't invent something new here. We applied the 5 principles in NIST from cyber resiliency and use those as kind of, here's our categories we work from. Here's how, based on point in time of how you answered, here's how the scoring and how you're doing in each of these 5 principles. And coming out of this, we'll also give you some recommendations that will be general purpose recommendations. So I'll give you an example of an IBM product at the same time, but the idea will be, think about things like about air gapping, think about X and Y and Z. Here are some of the priorities, and here are the most critical ones to the ones that you can maybe do later. But it'll give you a list of priorities and a list of recommended steps you can take after you finish the time with us. And we'll be able, once we've done the 2-hour workshop, we're able to come back to you within about a week with the report. And it has a very nice output, and we try to keep it nice and in a reasonable size, so 8-10 pages kind of thing. Now, with that, I believe I'm bringing us back over, Christian. Am I bringing us back over to a quiz?
I believe you are.
Awesome.
All right, I'm going to share my screen.
Wonderful.
And show the next few questions. I don't know if there's any. Is there any focused study you want to apply first, or shall we just jump right into it?
Let's jump right in. I can give you back the screen if you want, or steal it from me.
Yeah, I'm going to do it right now. Here we go. Boom. All right. So let's move on to the next question there. Thank you for that, by the way, Chris. That was a lot of information. That was a lot of information quickly, I might add. But for the folks who are familiar with this, I'm sure they do well with this information.
I was going to say, I had my coffee today, but I'm happy to answer questions if I went too far or if I went too fast.
Very good. Very good. All right. So let's go to the next question. Here we go. So safeguarded immutable copy is a network security SIM, an interesting spelling, product. Let's find out.
True or false? There you go.
Oh, it's a true or false. We'll do 10 seconds of this.
Punch in your answer into the Q&A box, please. Thank you.
All right. So let's see if we have the answers in. We have some. All right. Well, let's find out. Boom. That is false.
That's true. It's false. It's built into the IBM Flash system family.
Correct. Also, the SIM too. It was an interesting spelling in SIM. You look at it, it might have been a bit of a gimme there. That's usually, is it a security incident, event management, or is it security event incident management? I don't know. It probably could be either. Anyway, number of days to recover from a ransomware breach. Now I remember this one. Let's see how that goes.
Please punch in your answer into the Q&A box. Thank you.
Okay, we're getting responses in for that. I see a number of correct responses.
So do you base this just on the number of correct answers or also the time of who rings in first with a correct answer?
I believe the number of correct answers is what we settled on initially.
All
But,
right.
we have flexibility. And the answer is 23 days, as Chris pointed out earlier. All right, we got to go to the next one. We have a couple more on this one. Ransomware insurance frequently requires proof of immutable copies. Let's find out. Oh, music.
Next time, just share your sound as well, your computer sound.
Are you not getting a sound?
No, you did not share your computer sound, but that's okay. You can do it on the last part.
That's interesting. I did not change any settings there, but let me find out here.
All right, true or false?
Yeah, well, true or false? Let's find out. That was true. So I think everybody got that one. It's unfortunate, really, when you look at the landscape today. But our security practice is probably our busiest practice right now, and has been for some time. Okay, next question. Key components of IBM Cyber Vault include all but one element. Element 93. No, what element is that?
That was a good reference. Good pull.
So here we are. You're not getting the music, so I'm going to stop putting it on there rather than fumbling for it right now. So we got 10 seconds, and we look at this. What element is not part of it? Aha! And the answer is we have a range. We have a couple answers here. Let's find out which is correct. Bam! Physically air-gapped data storage, because it's a logical air gap. Air gap is a funny word, because it obviously denotes a physical gap, when in this case it's logical. So if your admin can't get to it, the bad guys can't get to it. And let me just see if this one here, that is, I think, the last one from Chris's presentation here. What best describes safeguarded copy? And that is one of these. Answers are coming in. There's a range. There's a number of different answers. This is obviously trickier than it looks. And let's find out what the answer is. Right now. Bam. Logically air-gapped. It's interesting when you see a question which is what best describes, because usually, they all describe it in some format, and whether it's best or not is really up to whoever created that question. I think it's just how it is.
The trick on C was it said it was cloud-based, but it's not cloud-based.
Ooh, I was gonna say, I saw that part.
Fair enough. Okay, well, in that case, at this
Trick
point
on
in
it.
time, I'm going to hand off to John,
Okay,
and I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and John can do his thing.
okay, we'll stop the other screen sharing. Yes, okay. And let me pull up, where's my presentation now? Let's see here. How do I get out of this mode where I can see my own desktop?
You got to share. You got to.
Got it. Thank you.
All right.
All right, is everybody viewing my screen? Let me go full screen on you. You guys see that okay?
Indeed.
Okay, so my name's John Ford. I'm a flash system specialist for IBM here on the West Coast. And this is what I'm going to go over. Since we already went deep into our safeguarded copy and Cyber Vault that runs on the flash system, I'm going to dig a little deeper into our flash system software and functionality, the hardware. I'll quickly touch on support and service options, some of the guarantees that come with our program, and different ways of acquiring. I'll try and keep this to 15 minutes and talk as fast as Chris, but I'm not sure if my coffee is quite as strong as his. We've gotten all kinds of accolades over the years for our storage system. We're the #2 supplier of all enterprise data class storage in the world. That started out with mainframe storage. Many people are not aware that we now support storage systems for small businesses, SMB, in between size businesses, all the way up. There's a perception that IBM will always be the most expensive, the Ferrari of storage. And really, you're going to see as we go through this, we have enterprise functionality at very affordable prices for customers of all sizes. One of the first things I wanted to talk about is this software. Can you see the full screen across the top, or are you getting the same banner I am that says Power of Spectrum Virtualize? You see that okay?
We see that with three, I think 3 icons below it.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So as the name might imply, Spectrum Virtualize does just that. We do for storage what VMware has done for servers. So we can take up to 500 different types of storage. In this picture, it looks like it's some Pure, some EMC, some NetApp, and Dell. And we can virtualize that all behind Spectrum Virtualize in one of our flash arrays, or what we call an SVC, which is a storage virtualization controller, and give you one common pane of glass, and then add all kinds of management elements to your different brands of storage to really simplify it, because most data centers, let's face it, has more than one storage platform. And so that, inherently brings in some complexity. So in this particular configuration, you've got a combined 800 terabytes of storage. We virtualize it, and we add tools like data reduction, compression, and deduplication, and turn that 800 terabytes into 1.6 petabytes. Now, it could be more than a 2-to-1 compression. This is just as an example. That could be 3-to-1, 4-to-1. It really depends on how compressible it is. And the other thing is that when you have different brands of storage connected to different servers and different platforms, in many cases, you'll have isolated storage, different tiers of storage, some older as well as newer storage. And this can really bring it all together, modernize it, and bring some economy of scale to the whole solution, this virtualization capability. IBM is the only company that I'm aware of that does external storage virtualization. Now, we control the whole system, and Chris alluded to this earlier, with a cloud-based software program called Storage Insights Pro. That's doing constant monitoring of the subsystem, looking at performance, capacity utilization, any kind of anomalies that might indicate nefarious actions. So if all of a sudden compression drastically changes, that might imply something is being encrypted, or performance changes, that will alert Spectrum Control Select, or an element of that called Copy Services Manager, to snapshot a point-in-time copy into the cyber vault or into the safeguarded copy pool. So you've got that clean, immutable copy to recover from. So you don't have to manually do that. That is built into our software. It's also capable of looking at a cloud perspective at predictive, like soft errors that can be recoverable, and we'll ship out a drive before there's ever a failure, and you can pop in a new drive. It'll download service logs so that we can look at errors before you're even aware that you've got an issue. So it's very intelligent software. Now, we're also doing storage tiering, and not everybody does that anymore, but let's face it, there are different tiers of storage. There's server class memory, there's NVMe flash, there's SAS flash, there's spinning disk, and not all data should be treated the same, right? So if you've written data and you haven't accessed it in 60 or 90 days, let's push that down to some slower, lower cost storage like nearline SAS, or like maybe one of your older arrays, and we'll keep all the high performance, the indices, the directories, the pointer files up on your NVMe flash or your storage class memory. So tiering is very important. We also, as we'll get into it a little bit further, still provide hybrid storage. So that's a mix in the same chassis of spinning disk and flash disk to kind of stretch your dollars, and or if you're going to use this as a backup target. I'm going to talk to you about our FlashCore modules, which is a proprietary technology that only IBM offers. It has better density, better performance, encryption and compression down at the device level that has zero impact on performance, and a very attractive price point. We've developed it with our acquisition of Texas Memory Systems, and we'll give you the best cost per terabyte of any flash drive on the market. We already talked with Chris about the advantage of safeguarded copy and immutable snapshots. That's built right into the system. It's not something that you have to order extra. It comes with any of our NVMe systems, so I'll talk about what those are in a minute, but it's there. We can add the automation and orchestration with lab services and help you create a runbook for recovery. And then lastly, I also wanted to talk about HyperSwap, which is our data replication. Now, typically you only find this level of data replication available on enterprise class products. We have it all the way down to our entry-level SaaS products, where we will guarantee 100% data availability at all times. So we can do that over 2 sites. We can do that over 3 sites. You can fail a path. You can fail a drive. You can fail a controller. Any combination, we can demonstrate it to you in advance, but it's very, very highly reliable storage. And this, again, comes from mainframe technology that we've brought down to a consumer level for entry-level systems. We already talked about the simplicity of the management by virtualizing all the storage. So that allows you to repurpose people that might have been dedicated to managing a certain storage platform to work on more modern workloads like AI and machine learning, data analytics, things like that, to be repurposed. We're an early adapter of CSI or container-based storage. So whether your applications are bare metal, virtualized using vSphere or Hyper-V, any one of the hypervisors available out there, or CSI for born in the cloud applications. So again, this is a true hybrid cloud solution and supported on more than one cloud. It is supported on the IBM cloud, the AWS cloud, and the Azure cloud, and soon to come Google Cloud, but we don't have Google Cloud just yet. Today, we're supporting safeguarded copy that Chris got into on the Azure cloud. So you can, as Chris said, you can deploy us on a secondary site with HyperSwap, on a DR site. You can deploy us in the cloud for recovery with safeguarded copy. You've got lots and lots of options. Again, the HyperSwap is the cross-system, cross-data center, active-active failover capabilities available on all the systems. And what I wanted to talk about here is as you go up the class, and Chris kind of hit on this, we do have an entry-level SaaS product called a 5015 and a 5035, very attractive price point. I'm going to actually show you some pricing here to give you some idea of where we are relative to the market. And I think most of you are going to be very surprised. But as you move up the stack, we're basically adding more processors, more cache, faster processors, so you can support more storage services like external virtualization. So if you're interested in external virtualization, you're looking at a 5000 series. Even the entry level, as I mentioned before, 5035 supports the encryption, clustering, and HyperSwap. So anyways, you move up the stack, you get more functionality. The nice thing is they all use the same interface. So if you look at Dell, or you look at NetApp, or any of the other major flash providers, all of their storage came from different acquisitions and have different management tools. They don't talk to each other. There's a lot of complexity. We're one family, one software management tool. It's built around simplicity. Here's a little bit again, and I don't want to go too deep into hardware here, but we can get up to 1 petabyte of effective capacity. And now it's even higher than that because we're doing 3-to-1 guarantee, sight unseen, effective capacity data reduction on a 5200. For example, we had a client here in Southern California that had an HP 3-par that was literally 600 spinning disks, and we replaced it with a 1U 5200 NVMe system. We actually gave a huge trade-in back. They saved a ton of floor space, a ton of power, cooling, you name it. It was amazing, and they were blown away by it. So as you move up the stack, as Chris pointed out, you go from a petabyte to 2 petabytes to 4 petabytes. The bandwidth doubles as you go up. We'll size the right system for you, but needless to say, we've got amazing capabilities. In terms of support, we offer basic, advanced, premium. The premium is only available on the mid-range and the enterprise. Basically, it's a very marginal cost difference. So a basic is 6% of your purchase price of the system, and that gives you Monday through Friday on site anywhere in the world. So, I mean, we're a global company, so whether you've got offices in Canada or the US or in Europe, we can support you no matter where you are. But if you go up from basic to advanced, instead of 6% of the base system cost, it goes up to 8%. So it's very marginal. And now you get 7x24 2-hour on-site response. Or if you go up to premium, we also add remote code updates and a dedicated TAM or technical account assistance, and even faster response time on SEV1 and SEV2 critical issues. I'm trying to be mindful of the time because I've got about 4 more slides. FlashCore Module 3, so very, very important. So we purchased Texas Memory System, and we took some technology that was very unique to them back in 2016, I think it was approximately. And as I mentioned, we're able to do the data compression and the encryption down at the device level with no impact on performance. If you look at a lot of the competitors in the market, I'm just going to show you a few things about flash systems. And I know I'm talking fast, but I'm trying to be mindful. The main difference about the flash system, we got a field programmable gate array down on each device that's logically like a little mini computer, if you want to think of it, or a little RAID controller down at the actual SSD level, looking for the healthiest data blocks to put your hot data. So that gives us better availability, better performance, you know, a variety of different attributes, and density. So we combine QLC technology with SLC technology. We get SLC response time, SLC performance at QLC densities. And with the latest data compression, as I mentioned, you can get 40 terabytes on a uncompressed and 80 terabytes compressed on our highest density flash core module. So you can get a lot of capacity. Comparing us, this is the one that seems to catch everybody's attention. Here's a Dell EMC PowerStore T3000 NVMe array compared to a 5200. Both have approximately 250 terabytes of capacity. You can see, I want to try and reduce this. Now I can see the full screen. You can see the list price difference between the two systems. Both, this is advanced expert care at $70,000 a year versus $120,000. At 70 off a list, you'd be looking at about $400K from Dell. At only 45 off the list, so about half the discount. And this is very attainable. This isn't just for, you know, the government and the largest vendors. This is a realistic number. You're basically half the price. We're half the rack space. We're running a D-RAID 6, which I didn't talk about a lot, but that's striping your data parity across all the drives. We can have 2 drive failures. We do rebuilds off of all the disks, so we can rebuild a large drive in a very short period of time. And they're running running RAID 5, which is kind of 1990s technology. You know, we can cluster up to 4 nodes together, but you can see what a drastic price comparison. If you look at us versus Pure, their X50 model, which is their performance model, they now have an XL that's a little bit faster. Compared to our NVMe, again, similar capacities. Look at the difference in list costs. These are real list costs from both companies that we pulled off of the web, and it's drastic. And expert care versus gold. So this is still 7 by 24 by 365 with 2-hour on-site response, as well as the cloud monitoring and everything else that I talked about. It's a difference of about 1/4 of the price. So I definitely want to encourage you when we're finished with the presentation today to get back with your KIS sales representative and schedule a one-on-one to talk about what your requirements are and allow one of our salespeople and one of our engineers to design a system that would meet your performance requirements, meet your budget. We've got great trade-in programs, as I alluded to, and I'm going to show you some different acquisition models. Okay, lastly, this is us compared to a Nimble if you're an HP user. And again, we're using our model 5200, and that model can do up to 600 IOPS a second. So it's no slouch. It's a very high performing all NVMe system, clusterable, you know, cybersecurity with safeguarded copy, hyperswap for offsite synchronous replication, all of the things that we talked about before. So one way you can acquire our gear is a storage as a service. So if you want to go all CapEx, you don't have, or all OpEx rather, you have no capital to use this year. We can do an all OpEx budget where we retain title, we provide all the service, all the management of it. You pick a service level, a capacity, and a performance level that you need, and we'll quote you cloud-like pricing for on-prem storage. Another acquisition model that's sort of a hybrid between a purchase and a storage as a service model is our storage utility, where you specify how much capacity you think you're going to grow to in 3 to 5 years. We deliver that plus some additional headroom. You pay for about 30% upfront, which you can either purchase or lease. And then we give you in advance a fixed cost on that variable usage and bill you quarterly on a cost per terabyte. So now you have kind of a hybrid approach of cloud acquisition on site, as well as a CapEx investment, a small CapEx investment up front. We have a very similar program to Pure's, what they call Evergreen, where we refresh the controllers. So if you do any one of those acquisition models that I just talked about, storage as a service or storage utility, or you go with a lease, when you get to the third year, if you're in a 3-year contract, we'll come in and you decide to extend with us, we will come in and refresh the controllers, the flash media, and put you on a new contract moving forward with no increase in cost. You'll be at the same cost per month or per terabyte of storage or less going forward. But that's with a 3-year commitment. On Pure's Evergreen Gold program, you have to commit to 6 years up front. So you could decide after 3 years with IBM, no, I want to go to something else. I'm going to go completely to cloud. I'm not going to have any on-prem storage anymore. Take it back. You can do that. You can also do a dollar out buyout and keep the gear and not, further the lease agreement. So there's lots and lots of options. Lastly, we've got lots of guarantees. We do sorry, I'm getting, my phone's blowing up a little bit. Lots of guarantees on capacity. So as I mentioned, it's 3-to-1 capacity guarantee, sight unseen, as long as it's not encrypted or previously compressed. If we don't meet what we've committed to, we give you additional media. The controller upgrade program, I already explained. The hyperswap, I explained. So these are, I'm just going to hit the summary slides, because I know Chris and I both have something here coming up in a few minutes. These are the main reasons people end up going with IBM. We do the cloud tiering and we're available on multiple clouds. We do the on-site virtualization of non-IBM storage, so we add a lot of simplicity. The D-rate expansion, by the way, I didn't really get too deep into it other than it's extremely fast, it's very intelligent, but you can also add 1 drive at a time. With many of the other manufacturers, you have to buy a whole tray of 12 drives. In some cases, it's 24. But you may be in year 3 or 4 and you just need an additional 40 terabytes or 80 terabytes. You don't need 100 terabytes or 200 terabytes. You can add with ours, 1, 2 drives at a time, and it will rebalance your data, redistribute the parity. There's absolutely no downtime, so it's very easy to expand. It's easy on your pocketbook, and it's easy as a data storage administrator. We have the flash core modules that are giving you the density, the performance with no impact on performance for encryption and compression, the cybersecurity capabilities that Chris went into a deep dive on earlier, so you can recover quickly from a cyber event, and the clustering capabilities. So why do people buy? This is my last slide. Why do people end up buying from us? Cyber protection, simplified environment, cost savings, faster media, better MTBF, support for, as I said, cloud, virtualized environments, support with third-party software to use this as a target, backup target with some of our entry-level products, our SaaS products, which I didn't even really get into. Very flexible acquisitions. And if you want to trade in old gear, we'll help with your data migration and give you real cash dollars back for that trading gear. And that is my last slide. And I know you have some trivia questions, Christian, for the group.
We do. I'm going to take the screen. Thank you for that, John. That's, we've always known that IBM provides the best support. That's no argument there ever. The one thing that that I was kind of surprised about is the cost. The fact that because I would have expected IBM to be the most expensive always. Anyway, that's just my expectations. But I'm glad that you reset those. All right, let's have a look at the let's have a look at the trivia that goes with that. Let's see if we remembered what you just said, John. IBM Flash Core modules provide 10 seconds worth of stuff here. So please log in your answers into the chat box. That's kind of a gimme on. Yeah, I think at 10 seconds are reasonably up here. Almost. 3, 2, 1. Now let's find out what the correct answer is. And it is all of the above. Yeah, that was a gimme. Next one. Which cloud platform is Spectrum Virtualize not supported on today? I remember this one. We have a choice of, and let's see here. Log in your answers in the chat box. And tick, 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 tick. I think we're almost at a 10-second mark. So let's find out how we went on this one here. Click Google. That was what I recalled as well. And I think we have one more question. Hyperswap on IBM Flash. What is it? It's Good one. Let's see here. Please log your answers into the chat box. Tick, 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 tick. Yep, I think we've seen the answers come in. And let's find out what the answer is. The answer is the duplication. 2 to 3 site data duplication between Flash systems with 100% guaranteed time. Very good. All right, I think at this point that, there is one more. Look at that. What are the benefits of Spectrum Virtualize? Well, that should be a good one. The virtualization of the storage. So if you just want to log that one in, that would be our last question here. And let's see what the answers would be. I think we know what the answer is. Click. All of the above. Okay, well, with that, I want to thank you all for playing. And I want to thank Christopher and John for joining us. I think are you on mute there? Yeah, you are, Christopher.
Thank you. I was gonna say thank you very much. I wasn't about to clap over your. I was gonna say I was looking for a clapping button. I didn't see a clapping icon, so well, I'll say thank you for your time as well, and thanks so much for listening to us and coming to work with us as well. So thanks all.
Well, thank you, and I want to thank our participants as well. I know it's a tough thing to do to make time or make an hour during the day because we all have jobs to do. We all have daytime things that we have to get through. And when you attend a presentation, it just means that something else slides. So we do appreciate you joining us. If there are any specific questions that you want to know, please add them to the chat box, and we can find out if we can get answers to that. Otherwise, we will get back to you with those answers if we don't know the answers right now.
Yes, and there's an exit survey. Please do fill out the exit survey so we can get better for next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Yes, please do not forget the survey. That allows us to better direct our efforts to help you out. And with that, I'm not seeing any questions. I actually did have a question, and that is in the virtualization, Spectrum Virtualize, if you had like 4 different vendors and vendor number 4 gets encrypted, can you then go back and just restore that one vendor's box? You know, because obviously you have a funnel coming in where it's all virtualized into the Spectrum Virtualize. Can you then restore just that one unit?
Yeah, well, so a couple of, the IT guy answer is it depends. Now, so yes, if think of it this way, if I have a LUN or a volume that's coming off of a third-party array that I have virtualized with Spectrum virtualized, runs a flash system. So I've taken my flash system, say 5200, I've virtualized a third-party array of some other manufacturer. The LUN that is represented through the flash system from underneath the virtualized array, if that LUN has a file system on it, that file system gets corrupted by ransomware. As long as I was making safeguarded copies using IBM Flash System to govern that copy set, then I'd be able to revert back in and bring those safeguarded copies back. So the idea is you're always presenting the data up through that third-party array through us, and then I can apply all of my advanced function to the subsystems that I've picked up. And then that could be in copy services, replication services, or in this case, safeguarded copies. So yeah, if you were making safeguarded copies on those LUNs, bring it back.
Excellent. Because I assume one would do a point in time, obviously, of all of them somehow. Okay, well, I appreciate that. Jane, I wanted to ask Jane, are we going to be announcing the winners right now, or are we going to announce them by email directly to the people who got the most answers?
Yes, we're going to
Email.
answer in the email. Yes, we're going to reach out and congratulate them. Thank you.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Well, with that, I want to thank everybody for attending. And again, Chris and John and Jane, thank you for organizing this. And thank you everyone for making time for this. And hopefully we'll see you again next time. Everyone have a great day.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Bye.